this video is going to teach you all the basics of sewing so that you will know what to do and how to complete your sewing project. So first thing, we're going to go over some of the tools. So at each of your tables, you will see that you have a pin cushion. It looks sort of like a tomato or an apple, and the point of this is just to stick your pins in when you're done with them. Sometimes there are extra needles in there. You each will have your own needle, but just in case yours gets bent or you need a new one, you can get one in your pin cushion. This is a needle threader, which you use in case you are having trouble getting the thread through the eye of the needle. This is a seam ripper, so in case you mess up and you want to remove a stitch that you've done, you just stick this pointy edge right underneath the seam, and it's very, very sharp, so it will cut the string or the thread and get it out. This is a magnet wand, so in case you drop any pins, you can hover it around the area and it will scoop up any magnets or needles or anything that is metal. This is a thimble. We probably won't need to use these for our sewing projects, but if you want to, you certainly can. It helps protect your your fingertips from getting jabbed. And then we all have sharp scissors. So the basic stitches that we will need for our sewing projects are a running stitch, an overstitch, and a back stitch. So first thing you want to do is grab about an arm's length, so about to your elbow and back, of thread, and then you use your sharp scissors and cut it. A 45-degree angle will give you a nice sharp edge so that you're able to get it through your needle. And then the hole on the needle, which you probably can't see, is called the eye, and then you very slowly pull it through, and then you pull it all the way down. So you have both ends of the string, so the needle is nice and taut and at the end, and then you have both the ends of the string together. And then to make a knot, you want to wrap that around your finger 3 times, and then you want to go back and forth, and pull it. So that will make a nice secure knot. If you need to do it more than once, sometimes it comes out, but that is fine. So you just go and pull it, and then it should stick right in there. Now the first stitch is a running stitch. So this is just a piece of fabric. So you'd go through the fabric, up, and then down. You go back up through the other side, and then down, and then up, and down again. So then you end up with a running stitch. A back stitch is basically a running stitch, but then you go on the back side. So then you go back through the opposite way. So I would go up through this and down through the other edge. And then up through there and down through there. So what that does is it makes almost a solid line. That is a very, very secure. So the main stitch that we'll be using for our sewing projects is the overstitch. So what you do is you get your 2 edges together, you knot your needle the same way that I showed you earlier, and then you poke your needle through the fabric, and then you go up, around, and over. And then you do it again, up, around, and over, around, and over. When you're doing the overstitch, you want to try and keep your stitches evenly spaced and try and enter and exit at the same spot so that they're nice and uniform. Now, when you get to the edge of the, the end of your string, or thread, the way that you finish off so that you can restart, say that I was at a string, you want to leave at least a couple inches, and then this is the back side. So what you would do is you'd go over, and then you want to go under your last stitch. So you want to go under that last guy. I usually do 3 times. I usually find that that works very well and is very secure. 2, and 3. And I almost did not save myself enough thread on my needle to be able to do that. And then you pull it nice and tight, and then you snip it very close, not super close so that you cut your fabric, but pretty close so that you only have a little bit showing, and then you have a nice overstitch. That is the main stitch that we will be using for our sewing projects, and then for the dogs you do a back stitch. Let's say that you're not able to thread your needle the way that I did just by putting the thread through, then you would use your needle threader. The way that this works is it has this sort of rhombus looking top. You poke that through the eye of the needle, so see the needle is nice and secure on there, and then you grab your thread. So I'm just cutting a piece of thread. All right, and then you poke that thread through that rhombus looking opening of the needle threader. So I pulled that down, and then you pull the needle up, and it will automatically thread it for you. Now you still need to make your own knot. It just threads it, so it pulls it through. So again, you pull the 2 edges of the thread together, and you let the needle hang down, you wrap it around your finger 3 times, and then you move it back and forth, and then it makes a nice knot so that you are able to begin sewing. And don't worry about the knot being ugly because it's on the outside or the underside, excuse me, not the outside, but the underside, so that you don't really see it. And when you sew like stitches and stuff, you always want to sew your clothes inside out so that you don't see those ugly knots. Our last thing that we are going to learn is how to sew a button on. So you want to thread your needle the same way and knot it the same way that I've already shown you. And then you would line up your button on your fabric, and then you go from underneath the fabric into one of the holes, and then you go down through the other hole, and then you go back up through the first hole that you went through, and then back down through the second hole again, and then back up through the first hole, down through the second hole, but this time you don't want to go all the way down through the fabric. You just want to poke through, so you're underneath the button, and then you go around the button. I usually do 4 times, and then you go back down through the fabric. And this time, when you come up, you're going to go through the other 2 holes. So you're going to poke your needle through, find the hole that you haven't gone through yet, and then go back down, back through, back down, back through, and then back down. And then to finish it off, so you turn it around, is very much the same as when you're sewing. So then you go underneath your stitches, 1, 2, 3 times, and then you pull it nice and tight, and you just snip again very close to the edge of your thread, but not all the way so that you don't clip any of your thread, and then you have a nice and secure button.